Devos, and welcome to another episode of the Pro Hockey Pod, episode 56. If you're watching on YouTube, you guys will still notice I'm still in Canada as of recording this. So a couple more weeks here before I head back to Germany before we get going there on our training camp for the 24-25 season with the Adler Mannheim. But yeah, this week got another defenseman on. I'm happy to say that because lately it's been a lot of goalies. We're switching back to D now, so guys that obviously I had very good relationships being a goalie. Trusted in front of me, and we definitely worked together to keep the puck out. But this guy went the major junior route, played for Kitchener Rangers in the OHL. Went on after to play pro in North America in both the AHL and ECHL, and now has transitioned over to Europe, going into his second year of professional hockey in Europe, playing for the Graz 99ers this year in the Austrian League. Funny enough, before we even got on here, we realized that we're actually playing each other in exhibition this year, so we might see each other over there, which is kind of funny to see. But soon to be dad, welcome to the podcast, Frank Hora.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really, really excited to get on here. This is my first podcast too, so uh, don't expect much, but I'll try my best here.
Well, I appreciate you, letting me be your first for the podcast. Listen, I should know how to say this. I'm going to start this off right now. Like online, it says you were born in, you know, New York State. I would say I should know what this city is called, like, or how to say it, because I went to Niagara University, which isn't very far from this. But I'm gonna butcher it, but I'm gonna try anyways. It says
Here,
Chicata. What is it? Cheektowaga.
there you go. Yeah, you got it there that time.
Okay,
Cheektowaga. Yeah.
Cheektowaga. That's where you were born. I always like to ask the guests, kind of the first thing when we're on is, what's kind of like your earliest childhood memory of growing up there or in that area?
Um, for hockey, really, I remember I'm one of seven siblings actually, so um, big family. We had ti kind of a tight little house at when I first remember in Cheektowaga, sharing a lot of rooms and stuff. And I remember my older brother would throw me in net and knee hockey, and I would just have a metal spatula. I didn't even have knee hockey sticks yet, and he'd just be just shooting on me, and I was playing goalie. So that was probably the earliest memories I had, growing, especially playing hockey. He started me out very young, so I fell in love with the game pretty quickly.
I feel like that is the most common, like when you have siblings, it's like the younger one is always just thrown a net, and so the older one can just pepper you with whether it's mini sticks or road
Yeah,
hockey and stuff. Um, I noticed you also have a younger brother who is also playing now. I believe he went to Brockport, so I went to
yeah, he did.
Oswego after that. But so like just because you said that, I was like, so once he kind of got old enough, did he become the guy like that went in net, and then it was you and your older brother just hailing away on him?
Yeah, he was in net for until he could start to skate and shoot the puck. And then once he started shooting the puck, he hated being in net. So we made our little sister strap the pads on, and we always try to talk her into it. And she hated it. She'd get hit one time in the head or in the chest, and she'd go crying to mom. So it's back to my little brother being goalie again. So yeah, no, it was great. We grew up. We were all obsessed playing hockey, so we were always in either playing mini sticks or in the driveway playing street hockey. We were always playing, and then we ended up moving to a out to the country a little bit in East Aurora, and in the winter time we would take over our basement, and we just have like a makeshift roller rink in our basement, and my mom hated that because there'd be holes, windows breaking and stuff. It was she wasn't a fan of it, but that's really where we got to work on our craft and got a lot better playing hockey that way. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Miss those days for sure.
Don't we all? After a while, the parents just like they get basically sick and tired of getting mad and like fixing the holes because they're like, it's
Yeah,
just gonna break again. At what point do I just give this up? Like,
yeah. They just stopped coming down to the basement altogether. They're just like, all right, it's your guys' area, whatever. Just we'll fix it when we move.
that's crazy. That's a big fan. Like, I'm surprised that because of all the experience that everyone got at a young age being a goalie, I'm surprised no one actually became a goalie. Like they just
Oh, I know, and I my cousin actually played. He was a goalie at Canisius.
okay.
So and then they were the goalie family. I don't think my dad would have liked us playing goalie too much. I think he liked us playing up front, forward, or D. So
Especially family of seven. That's a lot of goalie sets, a lot of money out the door there because it's
oh, definitely.
not
It's
cheap
not.
being a goalie.
No, it's not cheap being a goalie whatsoever.
Who was your cousin that went to Canisius?
Steve Glowitz.
Okay, yeah, I remember the name.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the years he went off the top of my head, but yeah, I remember him being at Canisius.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of led me to another question I had to, like, growing up in that area, obviously, like there's multiple, I would say, hockey teams that could have influenced you or you could have been a fan of. Like obviously, first comes to mind is the Sabres. Not too far from you, the NHL team there, but also you had the two colleges like that I was talking about, like that had a rivalry, like the Niagara Universities and the Canisiuses. Like when you were younger, like would you ever go to like I'm sure you would go to if you had the choice, you'd probably go to Sabres first, but like did you ever go to the other ones too? Like ever go to Canisius or Niagara for games, or was it strictly just with the Buffalo?
no, actually, it was like we had season tickets to the Sabres. When they were pretty, we were actually pretty fortunate enough when they were really good. It was
When they
like
had Hasek?
yeah, him, and then we were there with like Miller,
Yeah.
Greer, those years in like '05 to '07. I'd say we had the season tickets for. So we were always at those games. Never really went to college hockey games. If we were to go to a game besides the NHL, we went up to Canada to watch OHL games, and that's pretty much how I was like starstruck with the OHL, and that's why I really wanted to go to the O. That was not that hard of a decision when I got drafted by Kitchener. But yeah, I mean, we really never even. My dad works construction. We never really were a hockey family. Like he didn't know much about it, so it was just pretty much going to see the Sabres games, or if we were in a tournament in Toronto or Mississauga or wherever, we'd go see an OHL game. Yeah, I never went to a college hockey game. I don't think I've ever been to a college hockey game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like obviously I went to Niagara, so like when I think of like college hockey and college atmospheres, I wouldn't put them and Canisius high up there. Like, if
Yeah,
you're gonna go to a game, you're gonna go to, whether it's a Denver, a Boston College, a Boston University,
yeah.
like something like that. Like it's just different. Kind of reminds me of the Europe atmosphere, which I've mentioned multiple times. But um before we skip far ahead to obviously your OHL days, like I want to kind of talk to you, like what was like the minor hockey structure for you growing up? Like was it always the Buffalo Junior Sabres, or were there other teams that you also like played for?
No, so I was before the Junior Sabres, before Harbor Center even. So like that was another reason why Canisius was still playing at Buff State. They didn't even
Hmm.
have a
Hmm.
rink yet. So that's another reason why like kind of all the Buffalo kids are like that's like college. Like I know my age group personally, the '96 year, we were all obsessed with Major Junior. We would all love going up there and watching the games and stuff. But Junior Sabres, Harbor Center wasn't a thing yet. We played out of a smaller rink in Buffalo. We were called the Buffalo Regals growing up. I played for them for a good amount of time, and then went over for 1 year. I played a year up with the '95 age group out in Hamburg. Uh, kind of when we moved out to the country, it was closer rink. Um, and then that's who that coach Jake Brzezinski. He pretty much brought me in from I think 14 to all the way up to my 16U year, I believe. The years are I can't remember those, but yeah, he was my coach from Hamburg, and then once the Junior Sabres became a thing, he went over there, and he's still there actually. I think he's running the major program now, still. But yeah, he was my coach for that 4 or 5 years or whatever. Um, so yeah, I was kind of all over the place. I mean, Buffalo hockey is really good. There's so many AAA programs, and every small town in Buffalo has really good hockey players. It was kind of a smaller market, but now I think it's huge now with Harbor Center getting built and the Junior Sabre program all together. They're developing so many young good talent up there. Um, Yeah, it's. I mean, I think that's a huge hockey hotbed now.
No, that was a very smart thing they did there with building that and kind of like putting all that investment into that facility and then also like the programs, like kind of what you mentioned, like when I was doing visits for college, like I visited Niagara. I also
Mhm.
visited Canisius because a buddy of mine was going there, but it was kind of like what you said. Like they were still at the Buff State rink. Like they had to travel like whatever it was, 25, 30 minutes to practice. And then like that also incorporates into the games. Like a lot of the fans are not going to go that far off campus to go do something where they could, enjoy their campus life where like other schools, like the rink is on campus. So after they just go wherever to do, party or whatever it is. So,
Yeah,
no, the Buffalo's obviously come a long way there. I believe like just looking it up, like, so you talk about kind of your fascination with the OHL. Like I myself, I was born in Peterborough. I had season tickets for 12 years to the Pete. So I can understand that,
yeah,
obsession and that mindset. Like I feel like it's cool to hear from American though, like to be honest, because like most Canadians have that like major junior mindset to start
yeah.
with. Like they don't hear much about college, whereas it's normally the other way around in the States where it's like everyone's like, oh, I want to go NCAA. And then they either get lured or if they get drafted in the NHL, then like the NHL team would be like, no, you're going to go play a year in our OHL league or whatever. So it's kind of cool to hear that. But you end up getting drafted in the eighth round there to Kitchener.
Yep,
And then I believe you ended up playing like so your 16-year-old year, you end up playing U18. So in Canada that would be like major midget. So after your draft year. But you also I wanted to bring up you played some games for the junior Sabres, so the OJHL team.
I
And
did.
I played for the Cougars for 2 years. We played against the Buffalo Junior Sabres. I have to say, every time we went on the road there, we played in that. I don't remember what that rink was called, but it had like the lighting was like almost like yellow. Like it was like it's like an older rink. They might have moved by the time you were there, but and I just remember being there and like the penalties every game would be like 20 to like 4 for like Buffalo. So like we would be penalty killing the whole game because the refs hated us because we were Canadians, so they would just give them power plays like
But
everything.
yeah,
But
that's a huge conspiracy in Buffalo.
oh my God. Like it was unfathomable, like just so
Yeah,
crazy. You knew like if you won in Buffalo, like everything aligned because there's no way you should have. And
yeah,
but no, I wanted to ask you like at that age, like after being drafted, like getting some games, like, you know, at that point, you're playing tier two junior, getting some experience playing with Buffalo there. Like,
mhm.
was your goal still, I've been drafted by Kitchener, I want to go this route, or had you also thought, hey, like, if I continue to grow at this level, I could go the other way too, which I like to ask guys that because I like to just kind of see their thoughts at this time, like why they choose a certain path.
Yeah. Schools were definitely talking to me. Like I was talking to Canisius, Niagara. I went actually a week before I signed at Kitchener. I went to visit Penn State when they were building their rink too. Um, I was just let's be real. Like I was an idiot in school, so that didn't help my case at all. But B, I was just obsessed with Canadian hockey. I was obsessed with junior hockey. That was what I grew up watching, really, besides the NHL. And that's pretty much all I wanted to do. And then if if there was another team that drafted me, I mean, I maybe would have reconsidered. But I mean, just being in Kitchener too, like we would have a tournament there. I know in youth hockey once a year, and we'd go see a game, and it'd be sold out, and it'd be so loud and so energetic, and it was, yeah, it was everything like I would dream of as a kid. So that, I mean, I did playing that 18U year. I did have a lot of colleges talk to me and stuff, and there was some thought, but I was pretty much set on Kitchener the whole time as soon as I got drafted. So yeah, it was pretty easy decision. Um, yeah, I also I'm very impatient and very impatient kid too. So I just wanted to move on to the next step. Like you said, mentioned, I played in the OJ for those 4 or 5 games. I loved that time too. I think the rink you were talking about was maybe Cazenovia, um, which would have been, yeah. They renovated it now, but I think that was the rink you would play in. And I want to go back to that ref conspiracy thing too, because that is a true thing. Like when you're from Buffalo and you go up to Canada, you think the Canadian refs are waxing you the whole time. So like everyone from Buffalo is like, oh, Canadian team's coming down. We gotta make it right. We gotta make it fair. So I 100% that's a real thing where Canadian teams get waxed for penalties coming to Buffalo and playing there. It might have changed now because it's, but you definitely back then like that was a big conspiracy. I definitely agree with you on that.
No, 100%. They need to make a 30 for 30 on that. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
legit something that was so true, and it was every year the same thing, but that's funny. No, you brought up a really cool point there. Like obviously being drafted by Kitchener, like when I think of the OHL, in terms of like facilities, like obviously I think London and Kitchener are probably the two best. Like London, obviously they have their great fan support of whatever it is, 9,000, 10,000.
Mhm.
I went to the Mem Cup the first year it was there, and whatever that was, 04, 05, and like Corey Perry and all them were there, and Crosby. Like that was a good experience. But I've been to a couple games at the Odd, and that is another, like, just the beige seats that they had, and like just the way it's structured. Like it just kind of like you're mesmerized. But I also went to a Mem Cup there. But how was that adjustment for you your first year? You're 17 years old, you're living away from home. You got the billet life. Obviously playing with older guys, like guys who are in their 20, like 20, older guys. Um, the city itself, and then yeah, like, did you feel pressure at all playing at home in front of that amount of people every night? Because obviously, coming from the Buffalo Junior Sabres, we didn't get much. Like same with the Cougars, like we had like 200 fans a game, 400 if it was like a
Yeah.
rival with Oakville. So like, how was the adjustment for you?
It was definitely a really big adjustment. I don't think I even was prepared at all for that. I think the hardest part was moving away from home, being so close to like all my siblings and stuff, and then just kind of going into a new environment. That was hard, especially how like um, quiet my billet house was. I was living in the basement. I'm usually, I mean, one of seven siblings. There's always someone screaming or fighting in my house. So like having that much quiet was kind of like kind of a big change. Um, but that was probably the toughest task was off the ice and just like trying to figure out my days too. I was actually fortunate enough to not have to go to high school there. So that was also, I don't know if that helped me or made it worse because I'd have so much time on my hands during the day. Um, so yeah, I think off the ice was the biggest adjustment. I think playing in front of the fans though, like it just you get so excited every game and you just tune everything else out and you just get to play. We also had a very tough year our first year. I think we had almost half our team were rookies that year, and I don't think we didn't make the playoffs. I think we were like second last in the conference too. So we had a tough year on the ice, but we were building for in the future in the next couple of years. So it was just yeah, it was that I think the off ice was probably the hardest part.
No, that's sometimes, like as you said, coming from a big family, and then you're alone in a billet house, and that'd be a big
Mhm.
change, and obviously different country and all that. And um yeah, what would you do for like during the day then? Like if I thought you would have been still going to school there, but I guess you would have been graduated high school. So what would you do during the day? Like would be a gamer, or would you just like trying to hang out with the boys, or what?
So we would have two sessions a day, and that was throughout my entire like 4 years there. We'd have a morning club, and then we'd come back for practice. So like morning club would start at like 10, and then 10 to 11, and then we'd go home for lunch and stuff. I'd hang out with a couple of the guys. We'd go for lunch and whatnot, and then come back around like noon, and then we had practice at like I think 2:15 or 3 in the afternoon every day. So that was it kind of filled the day up a little bit, but once you're done with that, I mean, just video games and video games and video games, and that's all that's all I did for that entire first year. And once I actually after that first year, I switched billets and went and they were I think my second set of billets. they were there for a longer time. They were more experienced. They helped me a lot more, and they just felt comfortable. Like I felt really comfortable there. I got to hang out with them a lot more. I wasn't just like alone in the basement the whole time. So they actually they welcomed me a lot more than my first pair of billets did. Um, and I still keep in contact with them to this day. They had a lot of good players coming through their house too. They had Nazem Kadri. They didn't have Bortuzzo, but Bortuzzo was there a lot. Robert,
Yep.
you should know him.
I went to school with his sister at Niagara.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, she was on the women's team.
Yeah, so he was hanging out in their house a lot. They had a lot of good players coming through there, so they had a lot of experience, and they definitely helped me. At my second year, third year, fourth year, I was with them, and they just made it so much more comfortable, and I adapted a lot better. And I was playing a lot better too because I was more comfortable um, off the ice, so that helped a lot.
No, definitely. Anytime you can be comfortable, I think that it all connects together, right? Your play on the ice will benefit from that. And it's good that you like, whether it was your decision or the teams or kind of mutual that you made that switch. Kind of goes into my next question because I always like to talk to people about the second year. So the first year, it's always, adjustment, like new things, new place, whatever. And I always see like there's a increase in the second year, whether it's confidence, whether it's, comfortability. And you always see that point increase. So obviously your second year there, you end up, excuse me, putting up 33 points as a defenseman there. Like, did you do anything different? Like, that summer, like, did you take kind of maybe things that you had learned or like grew to know what to expect, in that league or of yourself from the coaching staff and use it to train in the summer and then come back that year? Because that's always like a good point I like to bring up because there obviously always is that jump, I feel.
Yeah, actually, there's a few things that we changed. That was another reason why like I love Kitchener. They set me up with a skating coach for that summer. Um, I was going to Boston. I went to Boston for 3 weeks with this skating coach down there, and he kicked the shit out of me. Training that I've never done before in my life. So that was definitely a big adjustment, and that helped me come in for a stronger second year. And this might just be a crazy hockey superstition thing, but I changed my curve as well. That was a nice thing about juniors that I could do change whatever curve I wanted. So I did that too, and I think that helped me more than the skating coach. I'm a big superstitious guy, so the little things like that. I did it again 2 years ago. Um, Changed my curve up again, and I was getting a lot more points in pro too. So big superstitious guy.
Hey, you're talking to a goalie, so we invented the superstitions, but no, that's funny. I mean, at the end of the day, it's whatever in your mind you feel helps, and clearly it did. If you hear someone yelling from the stands in Kitzbühel, if you miss the net on a shot or something, it'll be me being like, shouldn't have changed the curve, like.
Yeah.
But no, that's good. And then obviously, as you said, like that first year in Kitchener, you guys were, had a lot of like first year guys and we're kind of building up, which happens a lot of times in major junior. You have your years when you go for it, and then there's years where you got to give guys chances and kind of let them get experience. We talked about it off camera. One guy you played with in Kitchener who I obviously know now working with him in Mannheim there is Ryan McInnes. I'm curious, meeting this guy, like just like he's just has like no emotion sometimes. Like you think like, he's just not there, but he's just like he's such a funny dude and good guy. But like if you like meet him for the first time, you would just think like this guy is just like has not slept or like just like lifeless. But was he kind of the same way like when you remember him from Kitchener too?
The exact same way. I don't think I even said more than like 10 words in my first year. He just like goes through the motion, just like kind of you look over at him in the locker room, he's just like staring into space. But no, he was actually towards the end when we our last year together, we're really close. We'd be hanging out like every night pretty much. I'd go to their billet house, and it was me, him, and then a guy who's playing in Balzano, Dylan DePerna. We'd be hanging out a ton that year. But yeah, he was such a great guy, and like you said, there's not no emotion, but like he is such a hard worker, and you would think like, oh, like like he you wouldn't even notice him, and then he'd have like 3 or 4 points,
Yeah.
and it was just crazy because like he was like that under just you never I don't know the words for it, but like
Be
you
like
just
under the radar.
yeah, and you would but he'd always be like the most productive guy. He'd always be the most hardworking guy on the ice. Um, I mean, his dad too. I mean, came from a pretty good bloodline of hockey family, so his dad was always pushing him too. I know he was always around the rink too. Al, um, just helping him out and stuff. So yeah, I mean, he was such a great guy back in juniors, and I haven't seen him. I think actually I played against him when I was in Syracuse. He was in Rochester, so I remember playing against him then, and he was the same way, just like kind of like floating around out there, and then boom, 3 points. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's
he's a great dude. Yeah, he's a great dude. I'm hopefully can play again with him or against him sometime soon.
we always the boys always give it to him just because like obviously his dad is Al McInnes and was just like a
Yeah.
workhorse, and then you got him like just how he mopes around, and he just like accepted. He goes, "Yep, it's not me or whatever." And like the funny thing was, one day I was at one of the guys' house and we were like looking up like YouTube videos, and he's got like 5 fights online, and like we were just watching them all, and like I think in 4 of them he just gets ragdolled. Like he does not, it's
Oh,
not his game, but he tries to do it. And then like the one we watched where he did all right, he's like, yeah, see that's a win there. Like he just like tries to turn
yeah.
turn everything. He avoids the other 4 that like he literally got fed, and then like he's just like that's just him. Like he's just so nonchalant about it. But no, he's a great dude. And
I don't think he
um
fought. I don't think those are junior fights because I don't think he touched. I don't
no,
think
sorry, I
he
meant
like
AHL
one.
fights. Like
Okay.
he was they were having him and the other guy were having a competition of like who was tougher, and he's like, have you seen my fights online? And just like turn or whatever. But no, he's a good dude, and like as you said, like I'll notice with him, like just you if you don't know him, like with his demeanor, you would think like he's like lazy just because of how he is, but
Yeah.
like he actually is very smart. And like this year he was hurt at the start, but when he came back, like he obviously added a lot of value to our lineup. And like in Mannheim, at least this year, we were deep enough to have like at one point he was our fourth line center, but he would have like a regular shift, but then he would be playing power play because like he obviously was skilled at that area as well. So
Yeah.
um no, it's funny. Hopefully you guys can connect there in Kitzbühel if you're over there. Hopefully you are. You might be at home having a baby, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. We'll see.
yeah, kind of back to the hockey career there. I always like to ask, like, did you like for a guy like yourself, like you obviously weren't drafted in the NHL, but a lot of times what happens is, guys who aren't drafted, they still get invited to,
Mhm.
NHL camp, stuff like that, whether it's like rookie camp, development camp, whatever. Like when you're in your 4 years there in Kitchener, did you go to any camps?
Yeah, so I didn't get drafted. My first year in Kitchener was my draft year. Didn't get drafted, didn't get any invites to any camps or anything like that. So that was kind of I had a chip on my shoulder from that. So that's why I kind of like came in to my second year ready to go right away. And then that summer, um, I went to Columbus's camp and or that might have been my third summer. I don't. There was one summer I went to 3 camps, back to back to back, like development camps. That was a long summer. I think I finished in Buffalo, and I think I was on like 3 or 4 weeks of development camps at that time. So I was just gassed. um, But no, it was a super good experience for me. I think I started in Columbus, and then I got a call like midway through that camp, like, "Hey, come to Buffalo in 3 days." And I was like, "All right, yeah." Like, obviously, I'm going to go to Buffalo's camp. It's my hometown. So that was a lot of fun being in Buffalo, but man, I was gassed because I just was grinding in Columbus. But no, I actually when I did really well in Columbus's development camp, I got invited back to main camp, and then I that was a Tortorella main camp. Well, development camp wasn't any easier, but Tortorella's main camp was very hard. I don't know if you've ever heard stories about his camps or his training camps or whatever. But you started out with the 2 miles and you have 12 minutes to do it on a track, and then he gets all the on ice testing too right away too. So that was a super hard experience for me, but I loved it personally. I like when you have to work hard like that and you kind of just get to shut off the brain and just work. And I did pretty good with that stuff. I went back going into my overage year. Um, I did it. I don't know if it the main camp should have okay. The main camp was my overage year, so and that's when I ended up signing with Cleveland at the start of that year. And I played 3 games there, the first 3 games in Cleveland. Um, so yeah, that was a great experience. I think Torts. I mean, I only had one meeting with him, um, but like I liked him. I thought he was one of like the friendliest guys you could have. I mean, obviously, I'm not playing for him, and I'm not in that situation where he should be yelling at me or anything like that. But I really enjoyed my short time I had working for him, I guess, to say. But yeah, I got to play in Cleveland for that short time, and then that was pretty much it though. And then I went to after I was done juniors, I started in Lehigh Valley. Then I did a Ron Hextall camp, and I think that was even harder than the Torch camp, to be honest with you. Um, we were on the ice. We did rookie camp right before the main camp, and I spent all my gas at rookie camp. I was I think it was 3 days, and we played one game against the Islanders for rookie camp, and then we had like a day off, and then we got right into training camp, and I definitely didn't pace myself well enough because I was gassed day one of training camp, and that wasn't a good look. So yeah, that was tough, but yeah, it was a good experience. So I enjoyed the Tortorella camp over the Ron Hextall camp, that's for sure.
Oh, it's cool you got to do camps there. Like I always, one of the benefits of the OHL route is you can do both the development rookie and the main. Like if you were a college person, you can only go to the development because of the eligibility stuff. But um back to the torts thing, like so many people have defended him in saying that like nobody cares as much as he does. Like he just has a interesting way, I guess, at times of communicating and maybe the words he uses. So he comes
Yeah,
across as this like asshole basically and old school guy. But like everyone's like a lot of people have defended him and said like, he cares so much and he's actually like what you said, like away from the rink, he's one of the nicest guys. Like and
yeah,
you saw on the show too, like 24/7, like, that he took the time with that New York Rangers fan who was in the wheelchair and going through all those health things to like talk to him, text him. So like I think he does get a bad rep and just maybe the way he coaches at times is kind of maybe judged for what it is now being 2024. I do think he's the perfect coach for Philly, just kind of like what their brand is and stuff.
yeah.
So,
I agree.
um, but back to you. So like I wanted to ask you that you brought it up and it's, you know, I always say when one door closes, another one opens. But you said you played those 3 games there for Cleveland.
Yep.
Um, like basically why did you end up getting sent back to junior? Like was that like your decision or like did they come to you and say, hey, like, it'd be better if you were to go back to junior? Like how did that kind of transpire?
Yeah, so I was actually the assistant GM there was Bill Zito at the time. Um, and I was talking to him a lot. Played those 3 games. I was there for I think a month. Start the first month of the season, um, and I wasn't getting much else opportunity. So and I knew in Kitchener I was going to be the captain there for my overage year. So it was more my choice than anything. They when I was talking to Bill, he said we want you here for the year, but you're probably only going to get like 20 to 30 games. Versus if you go back to Kitchener, you're going to be playing 25 to 30 minutes a night. You're playing every game. So that was kind of the choice in my head. And I was also going to be captain, which was a goal of mine as well. Um, to be a leader in Kitchener and stuff. So it was they definitely made it my choice. I could have stayed there if I wanted to and developed. And I mean, obviously, who knows who knows where that road could have led me. But at the end of the day, it was my choice to go back, and I wanted to be the captain there in Kitchener and have my last year of juniors. So
That's
yeah.
you really like just hearing this. Like I've brought this up so many times on this podcast with our guests. It's going to be a repetitive theme for the listeners, but like you added it, like I commend you for that because like you had a big decision to make. Like right now you're living your dream. You're playing one level below the NHL
Mhm.
at 20 years old. Um, you easily could have said, no, I want to stay in the AHL. And those
Mhm.
20, 30 games, it is what it is. Like I'm a pro hockey player and blah, blah. But, you probably knew yourself as well. It's better to play than to sit in the stands. And a lot of people have that misconception of it's better to be at a higher level and take what you can get versus, well, I could go back to a lower level and play every day because at the end of the day, you develop by playing. Like you can only do so much in practice. I've said this so many times. So yeah, man, like that was a hard decision for you, but at the same time, like, you know, you going back to Kitchener was probably better for your career and your development. And, also the intriguingness, if that's a word, of also being the captain of like one of the, you know, historic OHL teams was
Yeah.
probably also like kind of the cherry on top. So
Yeah.
just about that kind of that like that overage season, like how was it, being the captain, for the Kitchener Rangers, obviously a very historical organization, as I said, and just kind of, every night looking down the jersey and seeing that C on the left side.
Yeah, it was one of the cooler things that I ever got to do in my life for sure. But it also came with a ton of responsibility. So my third year with McInnes and stuff, still they we were actually really good. We were trying to go for it. We ran into a big roadblock though with that London team with Marner, Dvorak, and Tkachuk. They swept us in the second round, but I mean that I remember that round. We were winning. We were going into the third period every game in that series up 2 or 3 goals. And that line was just so good. Uh, they would stay out there for I'd say like 15, 16 minutes of that third period, and they came back and won it. I think we lost in overtime twice, and then they took it. So that was the year we really went for it. My fourth year, we were good, but we were kind of rebuilding. We had a lot of young kids in, so uh, we yeah, it was kind of at times I was having to grow some kids up and babysit them a little bit, but just being able to like have that mark in history though, where I was able to be a captain there is just no better feeling. I love Kitchener. I love going back there and seeing my billets, and I went back and like checked out the rink and stuff this past summer, just to see the memories, to remember those memories and stuff. But yeah, it was great. I loved every minute of it. Um, and also I had 2 former Sabres as my coaches, and Jay McKee and Matthew Barnaby. Um, two great guys. And then our third coach was great too. He's the assistant coach in Maine now. Jason Fortier. I had 3 great coaches there my last year. But yeah, just having those 2 Sabre guys too, that was mostly the cherry on top for me too, because I got to hear a lot of those stories from them playing for the Sabres and stuff. And Yeah, it was a great last year of juniors, that's for sure.
I briefly had so my 1 year at Niagara, Jay McKee
Yeah,
came on as like a volunteer like assistant because he our head coach was his coach when he played. I think he played for the Niagara Falls Thunder or whatever they were when
yeah,
they played in the OHL.
yeah,
So like they knew each other there. So obviously got to know him, kind of the stories and stuff like that. Um, he would joke like he was like, "Yep, I made millions by just chipping it off the glass and out for years in the NHL." Like
yeah.
just like how he was and just different times back then. But no, obviously two good guys who had a lot of experience in the NHL to play for. So after this year, obviously, unfortunately, everyone's junior careers come to an end, and you now move on to pro. The next 2 years, you're up and down between Lehigh and Reading there. First of all, in Lehigh, you would have played with a buddy of mine who's been on this podcast, Greg Carey.
Oh yeah.
We played junior together there in Burlington, and funny, I was talking to a buddy about him the other day. I've never met someone who shot the puck every time like it was the last puck he would ever shoot in his life. Like,
He had a rocket of a shot. I do remember.
like and like practice every day. Like that guy would
Yeah,
come in, as I said, like it could be the first shot at practice or the last shot. He was shooting as if like after the shot he was quitting hockey and never playing again. Like he would try to put it through you, and like
yeah.
he told me too, like when he went to college, like the goalie coach made a rule that he could not shoot goalie practices because he would kill the goalies. Like it was just like,
That's funny.
but no, I want to talk to you kind of about those 2 years because obviously one thing that happens and I think can be frustrating, and it's like just kind of getting to the mental side of it and like how you continue to battle through it and kind of stay positive is doing that call up grind. I don't care how anyone defines it. It is a grind. It's just the going up and down the two different leagues, the travel, etc. Like, how did you, or I guess I would say, what did you take away from those 2 years? Obviously, you would play in the coast and put up points, do well, and then you would get your games in Lehigh in the AHL, but you could never find a way to stick. So, like, what kind of positive did you take from that? And also, like, how did you mentally, like, get through that and not get discouraged?
Yeah. So that first year, I mean, Lehigh was we were really deep. They were trying to go for it all. And honestly, after training camp, I didn't even know what the ECHL was. Going in that first year, I was like, all right, I'm signing with this American League team. Like I expecting to be in Lehigh Valley all summer or all summer going into like training camp. I was like, all right, I'm supposed to be here. And then during camp, I have that meeting. And like, oh, you're going down into to Reading, and I was like, where? I have like no idea. Kind of like didn't expect it whatsoever. Um, and then I went to the coast and was there. I was up and down a lot that year. Wasn't playing like would play here and there. I actually got hurt mid season there. I had a high ankle sprain in Lehigh, so that kind of when I had that opportunity to get in that lineup and try to stick there, I ended up getting injured, so that definitely sucked too. But yeah, it's a grind, and you just have to kind of stay mentally focused the whole time. That actually helped me that first year too. In Reading, we had a lot of older players who went through that same experience, going up and down. The one guy who helped me a lot, actually, he was kind of going through the same process with me, was Alex Krushelniski. Um, I don't know if you know that guy
I
at all.
know I know the name, like not him personally, but
Yeah. His dad played too for a long time, but he helped me a lot. Kind of just embrace it and really just keep pushing forward because there were times where I was like, what am I doing? Driving an hour and a half back and forth and stuff. But he helped me a lot there. Just kind of keep grinding and keep working, and someday like you'll get there and stuff. But yeah, it was hard. And luckily, like Lehigh and Reading and Philly, they're all an hour and a half away from each other, so that made it a lot easier. I'm sure there's other teams like when I started, Manchester was still on the coast, and they were with Ontario and LA, so like getting on a flight would have been way harder. It would have been way worse. But yeah, I was up and down a lot that year, and definitely just had some really good teammates to help me out through that process.
One thing I noticed about your career too, like, not to skip ahead a bit, but after those 2 years, you end up playing Cincinnati there in the coast, and then unfortunately, we get into the COVID years, but you were still able to find a way to keep playing. Like you're playing in the ECHL there in Greenville, and you were still getting like the call ups. Like your second year in Greenville, you end up going up to Syracuse for 42 games, 2 games with Charlotte. Like so, getting that AHL call up experience, and then your last year of pro in North America again, you're between Greenville and San Diego. So I think it just kind of shows like you as a person, like, you never like gave up. You just kind of put your head down and kind of worked every day, and you end up getting rewarded for those chances. Cause like a lot of guys, what happens is they get those couple years of call ups, and then when they, like yourself, you have that year in Cincinnati where you don't get a call up, and then it's kind of
Mhm.
like, okay, like I'm either heading to Europe or like this is me. Like I guess I'm an
Yeah,
ECHL guy, and like you never like accepted that, which I think kind of shows your character. But want to talk to you about the Greenville days. Obviously,
yeah.
why you're on this podcast. You met a good buddy of mine, Bryce Reddick. I can't remember if like the first year he was with you, he was doing the dual, like the player assistant thing, because I know he eventually
Not at
did it.
that time, not the
Not
first
not the
year.
first time, yeah.
Yeah.
But so obviously I played with him in Norway. We lived together. His dad obviously it was an NHL goalie, but it's kind of what was your experience with him? Like, he's obviously a very soft-spoken guy, but then on the ice is a massive competitor.
Yeah, he is. He is. I still train with him down here. In Florida. He's down here every summer. Past 3 summers now, we've been training together. Um, and he's great. I mean, just away from the season and stuff and the off season, he's pushed me so much and helped me even in those second and third year in Greenville to get those other call ups. Like summer preparation with him has been unreal. But in season, yeah, he's unbelievable competitor. Like you said, he's very quiet though. Luckily, I was with him that first year, and then the second year and third year we were both pretty close together. But yeah, he's a quiet guy, but he's unbelievable competitor. Um, he that yeah, not much else to say about him. That first year in Greenville was a lot of fun. That was during COVID. That was honestly the most fun I've had in a season. Just being in the coast the whole time. But we started way earlier than any league out there. American League, NHL. I think we started like a month or two earlier. And there were only like 10, 12 teams in the coast at that time. So like everyone really combined, and it was the best year I think the coast has ever been. That first year in Greenville, we were really good. We had a lot of American League guys coming down to play. Um, so yeah, it was a lot of fun that year. But yeah, being with Bryce, he's such a great guy, and he'll do anything he can for you. Um, yeah, it's great to have him on my side. That's for sure.
Oh, and yeah, you said it best there. He's a guy that goes out of his way to help people. And while we're talking about him, congratulations to him getting an assistant coaching job in the NAHL there. So now he's officially done playing.
Yeah, yeah, he
But
is unfortunately because he stopped working out with me this past week, and it's been a grind not having him there. To just push myself mentally without someone else to push me. Yeah, it's been hard, but got to adjust. I got to keep trying to talk him into playing though. I think we'll see. He's got the coaching job now, but I mean he could have played for another 5 6 years. He
oh,
looks younger than I do.
for
So,
sure, for sure, he could have, but I think he's ready to move on to the next chapter. It's funny. He texted me a
yeah,
picture yesterday. He's like first day on the ice as a coach, and he had to go get stitches in his leg because he got
yeah.
sliced open or something. So I'm like,
Yeah, I was on the ice for that. He just smashed his knee on the post, like trying to do a wraparound, demonstrating a drill. I've never seen him so mad in my life. But yeah, it was a pretty gnarly cut, and I hope he makes a good recovery from that. But
yeah, out 4 to 6.
yeah,
No, yeah, I told him, I was like, that's why a lot of coaches wear shin pads, buddy. So he's like, yep, I'll be
Yeah.
wearing those from now on. So he learned
Yeah,
his
he's gotta get
lesson.
like those rock shin pads or whatever they you can fit under the tracksuit.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, after kind of your last year there, like up and down in Greenville between there and San Diego, you end up having to make a big decision, which I think a lot of people do is, do you continue the grind, I would say, in North America, or do you head to maybe Europe and try to pursue over there? Because a lot of guys, obviously, Europe looks at guys like yourself that have played AHL games, had stints, put up numbers. So, like, what led you to the decision to decide to head over to Europe?
um, so on like the I was getting asked a lot the past 2 years of me playing in North America. Teams were contacting me through like Facebook and stuff, trying to get me to go over there. I still wanted to try to make that goal into being like an American League player, and I think those last 2 years I was here, I did pretty well at that. I mean, I played 40 games in Syracuse, and then in San Diego, I was actually playing. At my elite prospects only says like 14 games, but I actually tore my shoulder in that 14th game, so I couldn't. But I was playing a good amount there, so I felt myself like I've proven myself that I could play over here in that league. And I definitely wanted to try something different then. And Europe's so enticing because you got 50 games you only play twice a week. For a lot, usually most of the time, a lot more money too, and it's not taxed and anything. So I was like, all right, I think it's time to make that jump, to not be grinding and moving so much too. So I'm married and my wife's been with me for past few years now, doing that grind with me and getting those call ups and stuff. I'd be on a flight. Uh, but perfect example was last season in San Diego. Like I was in Greenville and then they called me and then I was on a flight the next day. And we have two dogs as well, so it was very hard on her too. So I was like, all right, we need to just find a good setup for and just be in one spot for the whole year and just make sure you're comfortable as well, so I can keep playing. So that was one of the big reasons why we ended up going to Europe. And it worked out great. Being in Slovakia was great. We were there the whole year, no headaches or anything like that. It's way less of a grind, season wise, and you have those couple of travel days getting over there, but like once you're there, and that helped a lot, for her and stuff off away from the ice and stuff. And then like for hockey reasons, like you play so many less games, you're in your own bed every night. Just those little things that add up, uh, definitely entice me a lot to get over there. And also like you can work your way up too in those leagues. Like I started in Slovakia, and now I'm going to Austria, and I want to keep working myself up and kind of do the same thing and just keep proving myself, and get better every year, and keep trying to jump up to those bigger leagues.
No, a lot of like this kind of we'll touch on the couple points there, but first the working your way up. Like a lot of teams, and like to be honest, like there are GMs out there, and it is in back of minds of others of, do we take a guy who's only been in North America, or do we take a guy like, for example, this year you're going into your second year, so like maybe Graz, for example, one of the selling points for you would have been, yeah, he's already been in Europe and he's produced, because it is a different style of hockey. Like it's bigger ice, fast. Like there is an adjustment period, and there's some guys who do well in North America and then head over to Europe and they just can't put it all together, whether that's stuff on the ice, off the ice, because obviously, some countries it's a little different than others. But um, and you mentioned another good point about the significant others. I think that's very important to note is, sometimes us as athletes forget that it's someone else coming with you and changing their life as well. And like for the
Yeah.
players itself, so for you, it's easy for you to fit in. Like you're with the boys every day.
Hmm.
You got the guys who speak English, the imports, whatever. You can go do stuff together. You're on the road together. Like where the other ones who are always at home waiting, and maybe, some places where I've been, like there wasn't always other girlfriends around for my significant other to hang out with and stuff like that. So that's always something to put in. And you said the travel too, having dogs, and eventually, soon you'll have a kid. Like it's not easy just to say, yeah,
Oh,
tomorrow we'll be there. So
yeah.
good for them. But I wanted to ask you, like playing in Slovakia, like how did the league compare to you to like, whether it's the AHL or ECHL, and like how was the language barrier there? Because that's obviously like one of those older countries where I feel like it's not as modernized, I would say, in most areas as maybe like, say like a Germany or like a Norway or Sweden, like where Sweden
Yeah.
and Norway, they speak better English than us. Like it's insane. But like, so how was that for you?
That first month was hard. Because like you said, like not many people spoke English. We ended up moving apartments after that first month too, because we were kind of further away from like the city area. Uh, I guess like there's suburbs you can call it. We were out there and there was nobody who spoke English out there. That was hard trying to get to the grocery store and like find the certain types of food, and you couldn't ask anyone, you couldn't help, like you couldn't get help from anyone. That was definitely a big adjustment. Once we moved closer to like the city center though, there's a lot younger crowd and stuff. And they spoke a little bit of English, but yeah, that language barrier was hard. I think by the end of it, we adjusted really well, and I could kind of like get the greetings down and stuff. Um, but for the players, pretty much everyone spoke English and could understand it. They were super easy to deal with, especially on the ice. I think only one the only one who said he couldn't speak English was our captain, our 40-year-old captain. But he knew English. He knew what he was doing. He was playing the game right. Um, the only time he would speak English was when we had to pay our fines. So that was the only time English came around for him. But no, I think around like the city centers, and I mean that we were in a pretty big town too in Bonsko. I think it was 70 to 80,000 people. I couldn't even imagine playing in smaller towns where there's only 20 to 30,000, because that must be a lot harder than what we had to deal with. Um, but yeah, it was definitely hard. That first month was a really big adjustment period. But we got used to it, and I think having that experience moving around so much in North America helped a lot. I think if you're going over there and it's just you're coming from college or juniors and you're just jumping into it, I think that's going to be a lot harder of a period or time for those guys. And you really just kind of have to embrace like the imports too. And we had a great import group in Slovakia. There's there's four of us who were there all year, and then there was guys coming in and out too. So we would always go out together to eat and stuff, and that helped a lot too. That made it a lot easier for us to adjust.
That's always the bond, man. Like wherever you play, the imports always just kind of cling to each other, and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're all North Americans or whatever. You just because you're just obviously the ones who don't speak the local language. And um, we played this year in Mannheim. We had a game in Kosice for the Champions League, so I got to see like that rink. I like that rink, and they had good support, and but just kind of see the Slovakian hockey. But as you said, it's kind of a different country and like less modernized as I mentioned. But we were treated well for the 2 days we were there, and
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's the second biggest city there too. So
yeah, yeah.
that would have been a pretty easy adjustment for you guys coming in there. But I don't know how it's like with you guys in like Germany and like that league and stuff, but on the ice for hockey, like it was hard because every rink was a different size. So like Kosice was like the biggest rink in our league, and that was an ocean. And I don't know how it is in Germany or anything, but like we'd come to like let's say Nova Zamki was like the smallest rink, and that was like playing in a small. It was smaller than NHL size.
Hmm.
Like I don't know how you guys were like adjusting wise, but that was hard for us going to these different teams and like play. It was two different styles of hockey. Like you play a more physical game one night, and then you go and then you wouldn't get touched, and you there wouldn't be a guy like within 10 feet of you in Kosice like the whole time. It was crazy how you had to adjust to that stuff, and I was just kind of curious if that was like that in Germany too or not.
That's one of the mind-boggling things about Europe is you just never know what you're getting into, and like there's no r rule that says every rink has to be this. So Germany, we a lot of our teams are North or sorry, are Europe size, and then like a team like Schwenningen, for example, they have an NHL size rink. So they're like this year, I think they lost 2 games at home because they would just bring
Yeah,
everyone in there. You play in a smaller rink, all over you, hit you, and then they'd win. So like
yeah,
good atmosphere too. So a little less spread out, I would say, in Germany, but there was definitely a lot of like when I played in France and Norway, there was definitely 2 or 3 teams in the league that definitely had NHL. So I like the you mentioned off camera you're playing Stavanger, like so their home rink is like an AHL size rink, North American like
really.
design and also ice. So like,
Yeah,
so it's just like
yeah,
it's cool to that stuff's kind of cool. But yeah, couple more for you here, but anyway, so this year you've ended up signing in the Graz 99ers in the Austrian League, as I mentioned at the start. Um, you know, I've heard good things about Graz, like nice city. The rink, at least from video, looks pretty cool. And also, like I know this year you guys got a new owner, and I believe he's pumping some money in, so you guys should have a competitive team.
yeah.
We're going to see each other in Kitzbühel there for our first exhibition game. Excited to do that. Another guy that you guys have signed that I obviously have some experience with is Corbinian Holzer. Um,
Okay, yeah,
he was in Mannheim the past couple of years. Obviously, had a very long North American career, NHL, AHL. Excited for you to meet him. Honestly, a great guy. Like, just loves having get the guys together, like do things together as a team. Like, he's very big on that stuff. But he is a massive competitor and just a big shit disturber on the ice. Like, I really liked him. Like this year, like he had that defenseman build that I like taller guy who's not afraid to get into it, but also can
yeah,
move the puck, get the boys together, like keeps guys honest, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. Like some games, um, he'd sit in the room for an hour after if like it was a loss or something, and like whatever it was, and just
yeah,
excited for you to meet him. He'll help you guys a lot this year. I'm happy that I know he was wanting to kind of be closer to home. Like I believe he's from the Munich area, and then also he wanted to try like another country. So I think it worked out for him. But yeah, excited for you to meet him. But one question I like to ask is, you're obviously still playing, and I don't mean to say you're old by any means, but like, have you ever thought of like how long you'd like to play for? Or are you just kind of taking it kind of, year by year?
I'm taking it year by year, pretty much. Just as long as I can stay healthy. Uh, I want to play. Those dog days during the year, I'm like, oh, like why am I grinding this hard? I get a lot of support from my wife because she's the one that wants me to play for 10 more years. She loves this lifestyle. She loves moving to different countries and different experiences. So um, for me, I just want to stay as healthy as I can, and if I'm healthy, I'm gonna still play. So she's on board with it too. So yeah, as long as I'm healthy, I'm playing still. So or as long as teams still want me, actually, I should say, because we're getting to that point too. So um, as long as teams still want me, I'm gonna try to keep playing. So yeah, hopefully, can make a few more years out of this.
Well, good for your wife, man, because like a lot of people, like sometimes, like now, like once a kid comes in, it gets well, like we're gonna play until they start school or whatever, kindergarten,
Yeah,
whatever it is. But I tell a lot of people, like I would tell you, play as long as you can because the real world is always going to be there after. But also, down the road, let's say you have 2 to 3 kids, like traveling when you're done hockey gets more tough, like especially financially, like you can't just say, yeah, we're going to go to Europe for 2 weeks. Like, so you guys being in Europe consistently, like, as there's the Olympic breaks, obviously you just got to get over there, and then everything is either like a bus ride, a train ride, a drive,
yeah,
quick flight, and it's cheap to
yeah.
go to other countries. So I would say she like seems like want to see the world, so good for her, and keep doing it. But have you thought about like what you would like to do after hockey? Like, do you want to stay involved in hockey in some way, or completely go off the grid? Like, what's kind of your thought process, or are you still just thinking you're gonna play till 40, and that thought doesn't come through the head yet?
No, that thought's definitely still it's definitely there. I would like to stay involved in hockey as much as I can. Whether it be coaching. If I get the right opportunities to coach, I definitely would want to coach. Um, and then if not, that's okay. It's just what's going to happen down the road. But if I have to be away from the game, I would like to. Depends on how old I am and stuff, but I would like to get into firefighting. My dad was a firefighter for 14 years, and I've always had a very, very keen interest on it. So I would like to do that, but also depends on how old I am or if there's certain type of injuries. Like, let's knock on wood here, but hopefully I can stay healthy enough to do that. So that's kind of like the backup plan right now. Obviously, things change. I I'm my mind's changing on interests and new hobbies every week. It seems like so. Maybe try to get to become a pro golfer, but that future that's probably gone. That'd be nice to do after after, but there's no way that's happening. So yeah, I mean, I think if it weren't going to be hockey after and just staying in the game, I think I'd like to do firefighting and stuff. So we'll see what happens though.
A lot of guys get into that, man. It's either, a lot of guys get into firefighting or go to the police academy, stuff like that. But the good thing for that is, I guess, for you is you could start getting ahead on that, like doing courses online, and not sure if you have, but just to kind of get like the schooling part of it done. Obviously, some stuff you have to do in person, but I had a buddy who played and would do the schooling part, and then eventually, he'd do the in-person stuff in the summer, and then it got to a point where he was over. I think he was over in England. And he got an offer within being over in 2 weeks to go be a firefighter. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm going home."
Yeah,
And that's like a good career. And obviously, they still have their rivalry there, the firefighter hockey team versus the police hockey team. So you can
yeah.
they would want you, man. You'd get a job quick. Pro defenseman that they would need to add the bulk to their roster. So,
Yeah,
but
if I wanted to go to New York City to play in that big game every year,
yeah.
yeah, that'd be a cool experience.
Those videos are wild. Seeing those on like spit and checklets and
Oh,
stuff.
it's
It's
insane.
pretty.
It's insane. I don't think I'd want to because like I'd have to fight like 3 times in
It's
that
like
game.
9 Tillies a game.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. But good. You kind of have a plan. All right, last one for you here. I like to ask all our guests this when we end the podcast. So, what is one piece of advice or multiple pieces of advice you would give? It can either be your younger self. So if you're speaking to a younger Frank Hora at 16, 17 years old, or maybe young listeners out there right now around those ages, like what are one or multiple pieces of advice you would give them?
Um, I think the biggest thing is just don't get discouraged when people tell you no. Just put that chip on your shoulder and just keep working and keep staying consistent and stuff. I think that's the biggest thing is just being mentally strong and just keep grinding. I also think another thing too that I wish I could tell myself is just to listen to everyone's input and try to soak up as much information as you can, whether being in the locker room with a couple pros or coaches or scouts. I think try to soak up as much information as you can from everybody, and that's going to help with choosing your path, whether it be college or major, junior, or whatever. Um, just have your ears always open and listen to everyone you can. So while also just staying consistent and just staying on that grind.
No, those are both good, man. Like a lot of times in athletes, there is that discouragement of like being told no or, you know,
Mhm.
we're not interested, kind of stuff like that. And, some guys it does wear to heart when it happens 3, 4, 5 times consistently. So
Yeah,
that's a good one. And yeah, soak everything up. I tell that to a lot of young athletes. Even myself, like you can never stop learning. A lot of times when people are giving you advice or opinions, good or bad, it's a lot of time to help you because it's based on things they've gone through. It's not them attacking you in any way. It's them
yeah,
trying to help you be better at whatever you're doing. So,
yep,
um,
exactly.
no, those are good. A good piece of advice, man. That's it. That was a podcast. I appreciate you taking the time here. I think we went for about hour and 10 minutes there. We were maybe hour 20. We were buzzing. We just got a
Yeah,
good
no,
chat. So
that was great. That was great. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed my time on here, and yeah, thanks. Really appreciate it.
no, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your story. For those listening, I'll tag when I post this, I'll tag Frank's Instagram there. You can give him a follow him along this year. Watch him put up some points there in Graz, and hopefully just not against Mannheim, the first game
Yeah,
in Kitzbühel. But no, man, I'm excited. Hopefully, I'll see you over there. Hopefully, you don't have to
yeah,
rush back to to North America. But yeah, we'll chat soon, and if not, we'll see each other in Kitzbühel there.
All right, perfect. Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Yep. Thank you. And for those listening, until next week, cheers and ciao.